Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Sorry, Ghanashyam Prabhu, he wasn't able to make it today for the Caitanya Caritamrta class. So Prabhu asked me to continue on with the CC classes. Try my best. So we're reading from Caitanya Caritamrta, Madhya Lila, chapter 20. The Lord instructs Sanatana Goswami. So we'll be reading from text 50 onwards. So in the last class that Ghanashyam Prabhu was giving, we saw how at the start of this chapter a little introduction was given to Sanatana Goswami, how he escaped his Muslim king and he was able to trick the prison guard and come and meet Mahaprabhu at Varanasi. And we were reading last time that in Varanasi, Mahaprabhu, he was staying at the house of a particular devotee named Chandrasekhara Acharya. And so Sanatana Goswami, hearing from the people in that town that Mahaprabhu, the Lord, is staying at this particular devotee's house, Chandrasekhara Acharya's house, and naturally Sanatana Goswami, he goes to that house to meet Mahaprabhu. So he's just outside the house waiting for Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu, being the Supreme Lord, he understands that his pure devotee, Sanatana Goswami, has arrived at Varanasi to meet him. So Mahaprabhu, he immediately sends Chandrasekhara Acharya to go outside the house and tells him that outside our house at the moment there's one great devotee, please bring him inside. So then Chandrasekhara Acharya, he goes outside, but he doesn't see any devotee. He just sees some Muslim mendicant with torn clothes, big beard and mustache outside. So we have to wear masks. So he comes back to the house and tells Mahaprabhu that I went outside but I couldn't see any devotee. I just saw a Muslim mendicant, just a Muslim renunciate wearing torn clothes, wearing a mustache and beard. And then Mahaprabhu says, okay, no problem, just go and invite that person inside. So that's where we stop. And we'll continue on from that section now. So this is text 50, Madhya Lila, chapter 20. O Muslim mendicant, please come in. The Lord is calling you. Sanatana Goswami was very pleased to hear this order, and he entered Chandrasekhara Acharya's house. Text 51. As soon as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw Sanatana Goswami in the courtyard, he immediately went up to him with great haste. After embracing him, the Lord was overwhelmed with ecstatic love. 52. As soon as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu touched Sanatana Goswami, Sanatana was also overwhelmed with ecstatic love. In a faltering voice he said, "O my Lord, do not touch me." 53. Shoulder to shoulder, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sanatana Goswami began to cry unlimitedly. Chandrasekhara was very much astonished to see this. Catching his hand, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took Sanatana Goswami inside and made him sit on an elevated place next to him. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began cleansing Sanatana Goswami's body with his own transcendental hand, Sanatana Goswami said, "O my Lord, please do not touch me." So Chandrasekhara Acharya, he goes outside, he invites the Muslim mendicant inside, who's actually not a Muslim mendicant, he's actually Sanatana Goswami. But externally he's dressed like that. So he invites him inside, and when Mahaprabhu sees him, it's described that Mahaprabhu immediately he goes rushing towards Sanatana Goswami in great haste, and then immediately embraces Sanatana Goswami out of great love. And while Sanatana Goswami is embracing him, he's feeling great ecstasy, and tears are coming out from his eyes. Now, while Sanatana Goswami, he's being embraced by the Supreme Lord, what is his mood, what is his consciousness? He's thinking that, I am such a low-born, degraded personality. The Supreme Lord, how can he touch me? If he touches me, who'll get, I'm so fallen, he can't touch me. So that's why he's saying, my Lord, please don't touch me, I'm very sinful and fallen. Please, I feel very bad of you touching me. So this was Sanatana Goswami's consciousness. Although he is such a great elevated devotee of the Lord, from his perspective, he's just thinking himself as very fallen. So Mahaprabhu, from his vision, he's saying, okay, this is my pure devotee, let me embrace him. But Sanatana Goswami, out of his humility, he's saying, my Lord, please don't touch me. I'm very sinful and fallen. And it's explained in CC, Prabhupada explains, that Mahaprabhu, through 4 of his main associates, or through 4 of his devotees, he taught 4 different things. And it's given that through Haridas Thakur, Mahaprabhu taught forbearance or tolerance. And particularly we see that in the incidents where Haridas Thakur, who was beaten by the soldiers of a particular king in 22 marketplaces. And even after being beaten in 22 marketplaces, repeatedly, ruthlessly, Haridas Thakur, he just tolerated, and he didn't have a single bit of anger or frustration or any grudge against those persons who were beating him. What was his prayer? He wasn't praying to the Lord, "Oh Lord, please protect me from this," or he wasn't thinking anything bad about those persons who were ruthlessly beating him in 22 marketplaces. He was simply thinking that, "My Lord, please forgive these persons who are beating me. They don't know what they're doing, they're ignorant. So being ignorant like children, they shouldn't be punished. Please forgive whatever they're doing. Please don't take what they're doing very seriously. And please don't give any punishment to them." So instead of praying for his own self, instead of being angry, holding grudge against those who were beating him, Haridas Thakur, he was just tolerating whatever difficulty was coming towards himself. And instead he was thinking about the well-being of those who were beating him. So this was Haridas Thakur. That's why it's given that through Haridas Thakur, Mahaprabhu, he taught forbearance. And then it's given through Sanatana Goswami, Mahaprabhu, he taught humility. And that's what we're going to see now in this chapter and later on also. So now we're seeing that first time when Sanatana Goswami arrives at Varanasi, Mahaprabhu sees him, Mahaprabhu is embracing him. Sanatana Goswami, his consciousness, he's not thinking, "Okay, I'm a great devotee, Mahaprabhu is embracing me." No, he's thinking that, Mahaprabhu shouldn't touch me, I'm very fallen and sinful. And later on we'll see how before Sanatana Goswami asks questions to Mahaprabhu, how he introduces himself. The way he introduces himself is by saying, "Nich jati, nich sangi, patita adama, kuvasaya kupapadi gonainu janama." So that's his resume he puts forward to Mahaprabhu. So usually in the working world, when we go to get a job, we introduce ourselves, we put forward a resume or CV, and then we start, bragging about ourselves that I graduated from this university, I got this mark, I have masters in this, I've this work experience, I worked in this company, that company, I have this skill, I have that skill, I have knowledge of this software, that software. In this way we start talking about ourselves like I'm good at this, I'm good at that. But the way Sanatana Goswami, he introduced himself is by saying, "Nich jati," that my Lord, my jati is very niche, my jati is very low. I am a low-born. Nich sangi. Sangi means, or sangha means association. My sangha was also the lowest of all. All my life I was just simply associating with meat eaters, non-devotees, and this way I've just been simply contaminated. Nich jati, nich sangi. Patita. Patita means the most fallen. I am the most fallen. Adama. Adama means the lowest of mankind. I am the lowest of mankind. Then he says, Kuvasaya kupapadi gonainu janama. That my whole life I've simply wasted in the deep dark well of mature existence. So this is how, although Sanatana Goswami, technically he wasn't born in a low family. He was born in Brahmana family. And technically, although he was associating with meat eaters and non-devotees, internally he was still pure and Krishna conscious, because he's an eternally liberated devotee of the Lord. But still, from his side, he's presenting himself as this, in great humility to Mahaprabhu. So like this, we'll see throughout CC how Sanatana Goswami, he exemplifies this principle of humility. And it's given, Prabhupada explains, through Sanatana Goswami, Mahaprabhu, he teaches the whole world how one should be humble. And then it's given, the third devotee is Damodar Pandit. Through Damodar Pandit, Mahaprabhu, he teaches how one should be detached or objective when he's giving criticism. And the fourth devotee is Ramananda Roy. Through Ramananda Roy, Mahaprabhu taught how one should be detached from lust, or how one should be completely transcendental to lust. And we'll see that later on in Antya Leela, of how Ramananda Roy, he demonstrated that. So we continue on. Text 55, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began cleansing Sanatana Goswami's body with his own transcendental hand, Sanatana Goswami said, "O my Lord, please do not touch me." 56, the Lord replied, "I am touching you just to purify myself, because by the force of your devotional service, you can purify the whole universe." So from Sanatana Goswami's side, we're learning humility. From Mahaprabhu's side, we're learning how we should appreciate and value the association of devotees. So it's given in CC, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he writes that Mahaprabhu has descended to teach all of us how a devotee he should act. Vairagya Vidhi Nija Bhakti Yoga Shiksastakam Eka Purusha Purana. So Mahaprabhu has come to give us shiksha into how to be a devotee and how to do vairagya, how to be renounced, and also to teach us vidya, to give us spiritual wisdom. So through his own example here, Mahaprabhu is teaching us how as devotees we should value other devotees. So when Mahaprabhu is embracing Sanatana Goswami and Sanatana Goswami is saying, no, please don't touch me, I'm very sinful fallen. How is Mahaprabhu responding? He is saying that I am touching you just to purify myself. Because you're a great devotee of the Lord, and when I touch you, I'll immediately get purified. So this is the value of sadhu sangha. Devotees of the Lord, they're so powerful that because they carry Krishna within their heart, that if we just some or other just touch another devotee, come in contact with another devotee, we immediately get purified. And we'll see in later verses, we'll explain that if we just see a devotee, another devotee of the Lord, then just by seeing a Vaishnava, immediately we get purified. If we hear the glories of another devotee, we get purified. If using our tongue, we glorify or chant the glories of another devotee, we get purified. In fact, in some songs by the Acharyas, it's explained that you can go to the Ganga, you can go to some holy river, and you can take bath multiple times. But more powerful than going to a holy place, more powerful than going and taking bath in the Ganga, is to just take darshan of a devotee of the Lord. And I think this is by Narottam Das Thakur, he explains that if you want to purify yourself by taking bath in Ganga, you can only do that by repeatedly diving deep into Ganga. Only after multiple times of taking bath in Ganga, you can purify yourself of all sins. On the other hand, if you just take darshan of a devotee of the Lord, if you just look and just see another pure devotee of the Lord, just by looking at him, in a moment, just in an instant, one can be freed of all of his sins. So in this way, Narottam Das Thakur, he makes a comparison to show how powerful are the pure devotees of the Lord. You just take darshan of pure devotee of the Lord, just in an instant, all the sins just get immediately dissipated. On the other hand, Narottam Das Thakur says, you go to the Ganga only after repeatedly bathing in the Ganga, only then you get purified. So this is what Mahaprabhu is going to explain to Sanatana Goswami. So this is Mahaprabhu's mood. He is saying that Sanatana Goswami, you are a great devotee of the Lord. By embracing you, I am purifying yourself. I'm purifying myself, And he is saying that you're such a great devotee that by your devotional service, you can purify the whole universe. So this is how powerful Krishna's devotees are. By the power of one devotee's bhakti, not only can they purify a whole suburb, not only can they purify a whole town, a village, a whole city, or a whole country, or a whole planet. Mahaprabhu is saying, by the power of just one devotee, not by a power of a whole city of devotees, or a whole civilization of devotees. No, Mahaprabhu is saying, just the power of one pure devotee of the Lord, just one devotee of the Lord, by his devotional service, by his bhakti, he can purify the entire universe. And the same thing Mahaprabhu tells to Vasudev Dutt. If you remember previously when we were reading, when Vasudev Dutt, he was praying to the Lord for a benediction that, my Lord, please bless. I just have one desire, that I can't stand to see the suffering of all the living entities in this universe. And please, to mitigate the sufferings of all the souls in this universe, you please give all the karma of all the living entities in this universe and put it on my head. I will suffer for the sins of all the living entities in this universe. In this way, everyone else can be delivered. And at that time, Mahaprabhu, he explains the same thing to Vasudev Dutt, that you're such a great, powerful devotee of the Lord, just by the power of your devotional service, the whole universe can just be liberated just in an instant like that. So this is the power of bhakti, this is the power of pure devotees of the Lord, that by the power of their bhakti, by the power of their preaching, they can liberate a whole universe. Text 57. Saints of your caliber are themselves places of pilgrimage. Because of the purity, they are constant companions of the Lord, and therefore they can purify even places of pilgrimage. So this Mahaprabhu is reciting a verse from Bhagavatam, a famous verse which was spoken by Maharaj Yudhishthira to Vidura. So the verse goes like this: Bhagavad Vidya, Bhagavatas, Tirtha Bhuta Swayam Prabhu, Tirti Kurvanti Tirthani, Swantas Tena Gadabrita. In this verse, Maharaj Yudhishthira is saying that devotees of the Lord, they are even more pure than holy places of pilgrimage. In fact, it's given that take the Ganga, for example. So many millions and millions of people, they go and take bath in the Ganga. And when they take bath in the Ganga, all their sins that they've committed, they leave in the Ganga. And that's why Mother Ganga, she was worried when she was asked or requested by a king, I think his name is Bhagirath, that please descend down and deliver my forefathers. Mother Ganga said, okay, I'll descend down, but when I come and descend down to planet Earth, so many millions of sinful people will come take bath in me and they'll leave all their sins into me. And this way I'll be contaminated. So, so you need to find a remedy for this. And then this king tells or pacifies Mother Ganga by saying, don't worry, when Krishna's pure devotees, when they come and take bath in your waters, they will neutralize all the sins which are left behind in your waters. So this is how powerful devotees of the Lord are. That they purify holy places of pilgrimage like Ganga and other sacred rivers. So it's given that when pure devotees, they go and take bath in holy rivers like Ganga, Yamuna, they neutralize all the sins which are left behind by sinful people in those waters. And how are devotees able to be so potent? How are devotees able to be so spiritually potent to purify even holy places like Ganga, Yamuna, so on and so forth? Prabhupada, in the purport, he explains in the last paragraph that since an advanced devotee carries Lord Vishnu within his heart, he is like a moving temple and a moving Vishnu. An advanced devotee does not need to go to holy places, for wherever he stays is a holy place. So Prabhupada is explaining that an advanced devotee of the Lord, a pure devotee, he carries Krishna within his heart. And because he carries Krishna within his heart, he becomes like a temple, a moving temple. And carrying Krishna within his heart, wherever he goes, he transforms that place into a tirtha. He transforms that place into a holy place of pilgrimage. And we see His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, when he was about to give up his body, he was in New Vrindavan in America. And due to his illness, he was about to pass away. And so many devotees were coming up and telling him that, Maharaj, soon you're going to pass away, that, don't you want us to fly you to Vrindavan? Don't you want to give up your body in Vrindavan, in the holy place? Let's leave America, let's go to Vrindavan. There you can give up your body. And what was His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's reply? He replied with the same principle here. He said that whichever place Prabhupada has visited, that place is a tirtha. That place is as holy as any dham. And this place, New Vrindavan, Prabhupada personally came here. Prabhupada personally resided here so many times. So this place, New Vrindavan, although it's in America, it's a holy place of pilgrimage. It's a tirtha. It's non-different from Vrindavan in India. So I'll give up my body here. I'm not going to go travel to India. I will give up my body here. So His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, he demonstrated this, that this principle, how wherever the pure devotee goes, because he's carrying Krishna within his heart, that place immediately becomes purified. That place immediately becomes a holy place of pilgrimage. That place immediately becomes a tirtha. So whichever place Prabhupada has visited, that's a place of pilgrimage. Okay, we'll go text 58. Now Mahaprabhu is quoting another verse from the Shastra. Name bhaktas chaturvedi mad bhakta swapacho priya tasmei deyam tato grayam sacha pujo yata hi aham. Lord Krishna said, even though a person is a very learned scholar of the Sanskrit Vedic literatures, he is not accepted as my devotee unless he is pure in devotional service. However, even though a person is born in a family of dog-eaters, he is very dear to me if he is a pure devotee who has no motive to enjoy fruitive activity or mental speculation. Indeed, all respect should be given to him, and whatever he offers should be accepted. Such devotees are as worshipable as I am. So this is a verse from Hari Bhakti Vilas, and this verse explains that someone might be a very great scholar, knowing so many slokas, studied all the Vedas and Shastras, but if he's not a devotee of the Lord, then his association is not so worthy. On the other hand, this verse, Krishna himself is speaking this. On the other hand, Krishna is explaining that someone might be born in the family of dog-eaters, the lowest caste, outside of the Varnashrama system. Nonetheless, even though he's born in the family of dog-eaters, if he is my devotee, if he is my pure devotee, then all respect should be given to him, and whatever he offers should be accepted, and he is just as worshipable as I am. So just as we worship Shri Shri Radha Gopinath, that same level of respect and worship should be given to a pure devotee of the Lord, regardless of what background he comes from. He might have come from this background, that background, a very sinful low background, doesn't matter. If he's a pure devotee of the Lord, then one should give him the same level of respect, one should give him the same level as worship as one would do to Shri Shri Radha Gopinath. So this verse is spoken by Krishna himself. And thirdly, Krishna is saying, whatever that devotee offers, one should accept. So if that devotee cooks something or gives us some prasad gift, we should accept it. Not thinking that, oh, this person comes from a low-born family, or this person's background is like this, I shouldn't touch it. If I touch it, I'll get contaminated. One shouldn't think like that. One shouldn't, it's said it's an offense to look at a Vaishnava from the point of his previous background. One should, if one's a Vaishnava, one's a Vaishnava. There's no question of, American Vaishnava, Indian Vaishnava, black Vaishnava, white Vaishnava, this Shudra Vaishnava, Brahmana Vaishnava, Vaishnava, Vaishnava. A Vaishnava is greater than everyone else. Text 59. One may be born in a Brahmana family and have all 12 Brahmanical qualities. So this is another verse Mahaprabhu is quoting from 7th canto. This is spoken by Prahlad Maharaj. And Prahlad Maharaj, again, he's saying the same thing. That someone might be a Brahmana, expert in all of his duties. If he's not a Vaishnava, then what to speak of purifying his family? He can't even purify himself. On the other hand, if someone is born in the family of dog eaters, if he's my devotee, if he's chanting Hare Krishna, engaged in devotional service, then not only does he purify himself, but he purifies his whole family and many generations of his family. So same thing Prahlad Maharaj he mentions in 7th canto, text 60. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, by seeing you, by touching you, and by glorifying your transcendental qualities, one can perfect the purpose of all sense activity. This is the verdict of all the revealed scriptures. So this is a very beautiful verse spoken by Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu is saying, Toma Deki. Deki means to see. By seeing you, I am purifying myself. By seeing you, I am perfecting my sense of sight. Mahaprabhu is telling to Sanatana Goswami. Then he is saying, Toma Sparsi. Sparsi means to touch. By touching you, I am purifying myself. And by touching you, my sense of touch is attaining perfection. And then he is saying, Gaya Tomara Gana. By singing about your glories, by glorifying you, I am purifying myself. And my sense of speech is attaining perfection. Sarvendriya Pala, A Shastra Nirupana. This is the conclusion of all the Shastras. So this is the power of pure devotees of the Lord. Just by seeing a pure devotee of the Lord, we purify ourselves. Just by talking about a pure devotee of the Lord, we purify ourselves. By some or other touching their lotus feet, coming in physical contact with them, we purify ourselves. So in this way, Mahaprabhu is glorifying the power of devotees of the Lord. Oh, this is CC 20, text 60. Madhya 20, text 60. Then text 61. Now Mahaprabhu is going to quote a verse from Hari Bhakti Sudodaya, saying the same thing. My dear Vaishnava, seeing a person like you is the perfection of one's eyesight. Touching your lotus feet is the perfection of the sense of touch. Glorifying your good qualities is the tongue's real activity. For in the material world it is very difficult to find a pure devotee of the Lord. Text 62. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, my dear Sanatan, please hear from me. Krishna is very merciful, and he is the deliverer of all fallen souls. 63. My dear Sanatan, Krishna has saved you from Maharourava, life's deepest hell. He is an ocean of mercy, and his activities are very grave. So now Mahaprabhu, he is trying to get Sanatana Goswami to appreciate the mercy of Krishna. Help him appreciate how it's only by Krishna's mercy he has been saved from a hellish life. Because previously Sanatana Goswami, he was engaged in the service of a Muslim king who used to just go around and just ransack temples and destroy cities and just take over and do all sorts of sinful activities. And all of Sanatana Goswami associates, they're all meat eaters and sinful persons. So Mahaprabhu is explaining to Sanatana Goswami that you should appreciate and have gratitude that the reason you're able to escape this precarious condition was all simply due to the mercy of Krishna. And Mahaprabhu is saying that Krishna is the ocean of mercy, and by his mercy you have successfully escaped, and now you have come to engage in full-time devotional service. And we'll come across this term, ocean of mercy, many times, how Krishna is an ocean of mercy, and we also hear how Prabhupada, or the spiritual master, is also an ocean of mercy. Like His Holiness Bhakti Charan Maharaj, he's written a book about Srila Prabhupada, and the title of the book is Ocean of Mercy. Now, in one lecture I was listening to by Caitanya Caritamrta Prabhu, he was explaining the meaning of this term, ocean of mercy. What does it actually mean? And he was explaining that on one ocean means that there is unlimited water, which means that the ocean will never run out of water. There will always be water in the ocean. On the other hand, you can have a small pond, you can have a lake or a river, but the water in the river, the water in a lake, the water in a pond can dry up. Just like we have a new Gokul farm 2 hours away, and for quite a long period of time, for more than a year, the whole lake in our new Gokul farm in Cessnock was completely dried up. There wasn't a single drop of water in the lake. One can just see the whole bottom of the lake. It was just completely dried up. In the same way, there is many rivers in many parts of the world which has dried up. Just like, I think, River Saraswati, right? In India, it's dried up. One can't see it any longer. So like this, there's many rivers. Although these rivers were so big and they contained so many gallons and gallons of water, they dried up. So in the same way, ponds, lakes, rivers, although they have a lot of water, due to force of circumstance and weather, they dry up. But the ocean, there's never an instance in the history of the universe where the ocean dries up. The ocean has unlimited quantity of water, and the amount of water in the ocean can never cease to exist. So that's why Caitanya Caritamrta explains, that's why Krishna is explained as the ocean of mercy, meaning that Krishna's mercy for us, Krishna's mercy for the fallen conditioned souls will never cease to exist. No matter how many lifetimes, if you think about it, for millions and billions and trillions of lifetimes, we've rejected Krishna. And although millions and billions of times we've, life after life, rejected Krishna, Krishna is still patiently waiting there within our hearts. Krishna is not saying, okay, this person, I waited for millions of lives, he's rejected me, let me just give up on him, he's not going to love me, he's not going to engage in my service. No, Krishna is the ocean of mercy. That means his mercy will never run out. So that's why the term ocean of mercy is there. So no matter how many times the conditioned soul rejects Krishna, Krishna is an ocean of mercy. No matter how many, sinful things he does, Krishna, just like a loving father and mother, he never gives up his love for all the fallen conditioned souls. So that's why it's given ocean of mercy, which means Krishna's love for the fallen conditioned soul never runs out. He is always kind and compassionate unto fallen conditioned souls, and his tolerance, his patience is unlimited. He can just go on patiently waiting and waiting and waiting, tolerating all of the nonsense we're doing. And the spiritual master is also said to be an ocean of mercy. And we see that with Srila Prabhupada. Many of his disciples, they left the movement. And naturally, when some of his senior devotees or disciples, they leave the movement, it's a great heartbreak for Prabhupada to see that someone rejecting him and going away. But it's explained by Prabhupada's disciples, Prabhupada's love for these wayward disciples didn't go away. And when a particular, many sannyasis, they fell down, they left, and then when some of these sannyasis, having changed ashram, taken to a household ashram, when they would come to Prabhupada, he wouldn't hold any grudge against them, he wouldn't chastise them, make them feel bad, but he would make them feel comfortable, and instead Prabhupada would encourage them. And one of these disciples of Prabhupada, who previously was a sannyasi, but he fell down, he came to Prabhupada to take darshan, and he was feeling very ashamed, embarrassed, and this disciple was telling to Prabhupada that we know in CC, there's the story of Chota Haridas Thakur, how he was in the renounced order, and once he lustily looked at a Mataji, and Mahaprabhu immediately rejected him, and Mahaprabhu didn't want to see him ever again. So this disciple, he told Prabhupada about this story, and asked Prabhupada that Prabhupada, Mahaprabhu, he was so strict, he rejected Chota Haridas Thakur just for lustily looking at an elderly Mataji. So will you also reject me, Prabhupada, because I fell down? What to speak of just lustfully looking? I have, engaged in an affair with another lady, and I've completely given up my ashram. So I've done something, 100 times much worse. Will you also reject me? And Prabhupada very emotionally told this particular disciple of his, how can I reject you? I can never reject you. Mahaprabhu, he is the Supreme Lord. He can reject anyone. That's his prerogative. But I am just this menial servant of the Supreme Lord. I can't reject any of you. I need all the help I can get. I want to spread the movement all around the world. I need all the help I can get. You have done so much service to me. You have rendered so much service, sacrifice unto me. I can never forget the service you've done for me. And I need all the help I get. I can never reject you. So in this way, Prabhupada, he consoles this devotee and tells him, don't worry about the past. Now, okay, you're married. You continue practicing Krishna consciousness. You continue helping me push forward this movement. So we also see Prabhupada also exemplifying that same quality of ocean of mercy. You see one quality of all disciples of Prabhupada explaining of how kind and merciful Srila Prabhupada was. So Krishna is an ocean of mercy, and the spiritual master is also an ocean of mercy, which means that just like the water in the ocean never dries up, similarly the mercy, the kindness, compassion of the spiritual master never dries up. In the same way, Krishna's kindness and compassion never dries up. We'll continue. Text 64. Sanatana Goswami replied, I do not know who Krishna is. As far as I am concerned, I have been released from prison only by your mercy. So Mahaprabhu, from his side, he's saying that Sanatana Goswami, you've been freed from imprisonment, you've been freed from material association by the mercy of Krishna. Develop gratitude for Krishna for delivering you, for Krishna from liberating you and giving you, full-time devotional service. And what Sanatana Goswami's reply? Sanatana Goswami is saying that actually I don't know who Krishna is. As far as I'm concerned, the only reason I've been delivered from material life is simply by your mercy. It's only by your causeless mercy I am in this favorable situation at this time. I don't know who Krishna is. So in this way, Sanatana Goswami, he is giving full credit to his spiritual master. He is giving full credit to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we see the same mood with Prabhupada's disciples. I was once watching one interview with Jadurani Mataji, and she's the famous artist who helped in painting all the pictures in Srila Prabhupada's books, like Bhagavatam, Krishna book. A lot of the famous paintings in Prabhupada's books were done by Mataji. And Mataji, she explains in this interview that at that time during the 70s, actually the devotees at that time, they were just hippies. They had no, coming up in a spiritual background. They had no background in Krishna consciousness, so on and so forth. And so Mataji was explaining that actually the devotees at that time, they didn't actually know who Krishna was. And they didn't have faith whether Krishna actually exists, who Krishna is, what Krishna does. But Mataji said they knew one thing, that they had full faith in Prabhupada. They didn't know whether Krishna was real or not, but they knew that Prabhupada was real, and they had full faith and 100% faith that whatever Prabhupada says is for real, whatever Prabhupada says has to be a fact. So because Prabhupada says Krishna is God, they accept it. Okay, Krishna is God. Because Prabhupada said, okay, Krishna is like this, they accept it, Krishna is like this. So in this way, Mataji explains that at that time, devotees, they were very innocent, just like children. They literally had zero spiritual knowledge, but they had one good quality, and that was they had full faith in Srila Prabhupada. And okay, because Prabhupada said Krishna is like this, okay, they accept it. Prabhupada said, okay, you serve Krishna, okay, then we serve Krishna. At one time in India, when Prabhupada, he takes his Western devotees to India and to Mayapur. At that time, Prabhupada's godbrothers, one of Prabhupada's godbrothers, they were commenting to Srila Prabhupada. Actually, your Western disciples from America and Europe, they don't know how to pronounce Sanskrit properly. They're improperly pronouncing and singing the Sanskrit verses. They're not properly reciting the Sanskrit verses. Like this, some of Prabhupada's godbrothers, those persons in Mayapur, they were criticizing Prabhupada's Western disciples. And what was Prabhupada's response? Prabhupada responded by saying that they might have this small anartha or this small mistake, they might do that mistake. That doesn't matter. They have one good quality. What's that one good quality? All of my disciples, they have this one good quality, which is whatever I ask them to do, they do it. Without question, without hesitation, with full faith. Whatever I ask them to do, with full surrender and faith, they do it. And Prabhupada explained, because of this one good quality that my disciples have, this one good quality outweighs or whatever bad qualities they might have, whatever mistakes or anarthas they might have. All of these anarthas, mistakes, so-called things they're doing wrong, gets overlooked simply by this one good quality which they have, which is whatever I ask them to do, they do it. Because they have full faith in me, because they are fully surrendered unto me, and because they just simply do whatever I ask them to do, that simple one good quality outweighs whatever little apparent faults they might be doing. They might be doing this small mistake in deity worship, this small mistake in this ritual, this following this etiquette, that mistake. No, that doesn't matter. They're fully surrendered unto me, their life is perfect. And actually this is the conclusion of the Shastras. The Shastras explain that the secret to success in spiritual life is to have strong, intense faith in the words of the spiritual master. To those persons who have strong faith in the instructions of the spiritual master, all the deeper secrets of the Shastras, all the essence of the Shastras, the deepest imports of the Shastras are revealed to that particular devotee who has that strong faith in the instructions of the spiritual master. And we see that with the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. What great service they did, what great impact they made. Like Prabhupada, he gives the example of one of his god brothers, how Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, previously he sent one of his disciples to go to London to preach. But he was unsuccessful, he came back and he wasn't able to do anything. Then Prabhupada said, look, on the other hand, I simply sent 3 householders, 3 householder couples I sent to to London, and look what they've done. They've created so many temples, they've established a whole Vaishnava community in London. Why? Prabhupada explains, because they had full faith in my instructions, they had full faith in the mission of Mahaprabhu. Because of their faith in the holy name, because of the faith in my instructions, they were able to create such big impact in London. They were able to get in touch with George Harrison. They were able to release the famous Radha Krishna album, which came in the top 3 in the Karmi's music records. So how were they able to do such big impact? Although they were just beginning devotees, just practicing for 1-2 years, because they had that intense faith in the words of the spiritual master. On the other hand, Prabhupada explains that these other disciples or god brothers of mine, they didn't have this faith, this strong faith. The instruction of the Shastra saying that how in every town and village Mahaprabhu's mission would go, they just saw it as just some nice poetry. They didn't have that full faith that actually this is literal, actually this will happen. Whereas Prabhupada, on the other hand, he had that strong faith. And Prabhupada's disciples, in the same way, they also had that strong faith, so they were able to make such big impact. Okay, we'll stop here. Ghanashyam Prabhu will continue in the next class. Shri Caitanya Caritamrta ki jai, Jaguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, devotees in Mayapur TV, YouTube and Facebook ki jai, and Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.